Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What is going on, guys? Privy Nation, how is everybody doing today? It is Deal Finding Friday. Guys, today we actually got something really exciting. I'm doing kind of a special episode today for someone that was asking, about how to find buyers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you guys through how I was able to find a buyer for a deal that we're doing right now. So, and I literally found this buyer this morning. Took me honestly, I think 15 minutes, like real. So I'm going to walk you guys through exactly how to do that so that you can find buyers for your deals. All right. And of course, guys, using my favorite tool, Privy. All right. Let me share my screen. All right. Got to present, share screen. And guys, if you are watching me live, throw something in the chat. Let me know how you're doing, where you're watching from, what market you're in, all that good stuff. All right. So here we are, we're in Privy. So the address of the deal I was looking for a buyer. Now, guys, this was a deal that it wasn't even my deal, right? So this is a deal to where another wholesaler had this deal and it hadn't sold yet, or they were looking for a buyer for it. So I was able to find a buyer, bring that buyer to the table, and now I'm getting paid on a deal that I didn't have to spend any marketing. I didn't have to cold call for months to find this deal, none of that. Right? One of the reasons why we like working with agents a lot too. Again, why we love Privy. But my favorite part of Privy, the whole tool, my personal favorite part is the comping tool. That it is honestly, it is second to none in my opinion. So this is the property, 745 Lund Circle, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. Now, I didn't have any buyers in this area, but I knew at first glance, I was like, I like this deal. I think there's potential here. So for Privy, I put in the address. First thing I do is I go to comps, right? Then I'm going to change the settings and I just make sure that all is selected. I hit save. So now it shows me all the comps. Now for Privy, the first hack that I like to do is I'm looking for, fix and flippers, investors that have bought in this neighborhood. That's what I'm looking for first and foremost. So the easiest way that I've found to do that is I'll take a look at the sold properties. And what I'll look for is if something was a flipped property, it will show the price that the flipper originally bought it for, and then it will show a little arrow pointing down and then show the price that they sold it for. So if this property was a fix and flip, right? If it was a fix and flipper and they did this project, they bought it and sold it within a couple months or within a year. Let's say if they bought it for $250 and then sold it for $330, right here it would show, the number $250 and then an arrow pointing down and show for $330. But at a quick glance, I'm like, man, I don't see any. So let me look at stuff that's under contract. Okay, I'm not seeing any arrows here, right? So here's an example of what I'm talking about, right? I can see the investor bought it for 95 and now they're selling it for 89. So this is probably or has a strong chance of it being an investor property. So I click on it, right? Definitely an investor that worked with this one. So I would click here, right? And I could learn a little bit more about the property. So when it has that before and after button, love that, right? I can see they bought it for 94. I can see they sold it for 189. Now, they don't have any difference in pictures here, but a lot of times when the before and after button is there, you'll see the property like this, right? It's all trash, needs a bunch of work. And then the after, you can see, oh, wow, they put in a whole brand new kitchen, right? You can see it's been fully remodeled, which tells me that it's a flipper. And then what I would do is I would go down and I would click on property history. And I would see that, okay, True Haven LLC bought this property back a couple months ago, and then they sold it. Now, here's the thing. They sold it 6 days, right? So they bought it for 70 grand, and then they sold it for 94. Now, what does that tell you? This was probably a wholesaler. So that's not really who I'm looking for. This property is more who I'm interested in, right? But how do I contact that person? So for Florida, you can either go to opencorporates.com. For Florida, they have sunbiz.org. You can just copy and paste the LLC, right? So in here, I can go to active. Now, let me show you what I did. I went into here. I'm looking for, it's got to be the exact same name, right? And it says active. Okay, this is the LLC I'm looking for. I go in here. Now I say, okay, is there a name? Boom, this name right here. Okay, well, now what? Now I would take this name and put it into something, guys, truepeoplesearch.com. It's totally free, costs you nothing. Now, this is usually the first name, so we just want to switch that, right? Get rid of this. And then what is the address? So this is what they have for the registered address for the agent. So I'm going to put Orlando in here, Orlando, Florida. Boom, one person pops up. Let's see if they've got a number. This would be the number I call. Now, this wasn't my buyer, right? But this is how I would find a buyer. And I would call this person right here. It's saying this is likely their primary phone number. And the other important thing is I'm looking for the wireless numbers, right? If these were all landline, typically I haven't had much luck with any landline numbers. But when I see if at least one of the numbers is wireless, right, that's for their cell phone. A lot of time I've had really, really good luck with True People Search if there's a wireless number listed. Like, honestly, I think 80% of the time I've used True People Search and called a wireless number, I got the right person. Honestly, it's been more accurate than any skip tracing I've used. Now, it's also not as fast as skip tracing, so keep that in mind. But this is one buyer that I've called. Now, this wasn't my buyer, right? Who was my buyer? So let's go back here. The other thing that I did, right? Let's say I couldn't get a hold of this person, or maybe I'm looking for more than one buyer. I went back to solds. When I look at solds, I want to look for someone that is buying a property. Like I'm looking for either a fix and flipper, right? Or this could be a really good buy and hold property, a really good rental. So that's the type of buyer that I'm looking for. So when I go back to comps, so I'm going to look at, well, what are the closest properties right in this neighborhood? I'm going to start, what's closest, and then slowly open it up and see, hey, yes, this might not be listed as a fix and flip, but it could be someone that bought it as a rental. But how on earth am I able to tell that? Well, so I'm going to click here. Let's start with this property, right? I go to here. It's got a before and after. Okay, but it's, they bought it like a year ago. It might not be a fix and flipper. Again, property history. Okay, what do I see? The buyer, seller, buyer. What is it? It's their names, right? What am I looking for? I'm looking for an LLC. Now, could it be an investor putting the property in their name? Yes, but typically they're going to have it in an LLC. So not really what I'm looking for, right? Probably just somebody that bought the home to live in it. What about this one? The other thing, I actually looked up this one first because it was a lower price point. Why is that important to me? Because if they bought it low, right? Again, it might not be a fix and flipper, but it might be a buy and hold landlord that bought it cheap for 160, and then he put a lot of work into it, and now he's holding it for rental property. But we wouldn't know its new value, right? So I'd go here. There's no before and after button. I'd immediately go to public records, property history, right? I look at who's the buyer, who's the seller. Now the seller, JHM Ventures, okay. So the seller might have been an investment company, but there's no record of when they bought it. So I'm like, I don't really know who that is. And it was just kind of a homeowner that bought it. And I can't see what these guys bought it for, when they bought it. So I didn't really bother with that. I wanted to keep looking. So I expand my search a little bit more in the neighborhood. Go over here. This one, 210. Let's go public records, property history. Oh, here's our first LLC, right? It doesn't show up as a fix and flip. There's no before and after button, but this might be a buy and hold. So let me take this now, or I'm sorry, this actually isn't an LLC. This is an incorporation, right? So let me take this incorporation, right? And they bought this just a few months ago, right? So let me take, and they bought it for 210. That's also really important because that's right around the price. That's actually the exact price that we're doing this deal at. So copy from here, I'm going to go to Sunbiz, right? I'm going to go to the search bar. I'm just going to paste it, hit search. Okay, boom, first one, right? Side Property Investments, Inc., active. Okay, love it. Coming to here. Who is the owner? Registered agent. Boom, right here. Now, if it is a bigger company, you might not be able to find the person, right? Another kind of ninja trick to find out, hey, is this a bigger company or is this more of like a medium to smaller investor? If it's a really big company, you're probably not going to find a number for this person. But what you can do is you can copy the address and paste it into Google. And when you copy and paste the address into Google, if it's a big company, right, like a hedge fund or something, it'll come up with let's say if it was OfferPad, right, which is a big company. It might not say that on here. I might not be able to find this person. But if I were to copy the address and paste it into Google and hit search, it'll show me, oh, this is, an OfferPad location. And then I would know, oh, okay, this is an OfferPad buyer that bought this, or whoever, right? It could be other big hedge funds. And then what I would do is I would then search through their website and try to find any way to try and contact somebody that handles acquisitions in this area. I just did this earlier this week with a number of really big buyers. And guys, it wasn't too difficult, but it definitely takes a little bit of homework. But that's how you find the really big buyers. But this guy, what I did was I took his name, copy, right? Went over to here, paste. Again, I know they usually do last name first. So I switched this up and put that space in there, get rid of this. And I looked at, okay, where's the address? In Cocoa. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. So let me just copy this, put this in True People Search. Boom. View details. All right, we got some phone numbers. Now, I called the landline, right? Like I said, I had no luck, but there was one wireless, right? And guys, it even said this number was confirmed back in 2013, so it's kind of old, but it's a wireless number that showed up here. And this was the only other number that I called. And guess what? The guy picked up and we're doing a deal, right? And now I'm making money on something that I spent absolutely no money on. Literally took me 15 minutes to find this guy. And then just, a little bit of time, just doing some back and forth text messages, 1 or 2 calls. And guys, we're doing a deal, right? These people are, the wholesalers able to sell their deal. They found a buyer for it. We've got an awesome buyer to where, funny thing, he owns, when I call him, he's like, I'm your guy. He's like, I own like 11 houses on that street. So he's the perfect fit. Now, this is how the best way. I love doing this for Privy. And guys, you don't even need to source the deal yourself. When you've got a tool that you can do this with, right? You can, whether it's your own deal or someone else's deal, you can help bring a buyer to the table. And the one thing I throw out there is, guys, don't try to make a home run on every single deal. Right? This one that we're doing, it is a base hit. That's why it's able to make sense for the wholesaler with the deal. And it's also able to be a great fit for the buyer because we're not trying to make $50,000, right? But the other nice thing is it's 100% pure profit. I have zero marketing expense into this. And again, this is a power of Privy. So when you're using Privy and you're calling agents, right? If you have your filters set up and you're calling on properties, right? I know if you haven't watched already, there's a ton of videos of me calling agents, right? You get to see how that negotiation, how that conversation looks like, right? We never make an offer on the first call. Well, what you can do is you can now call on deals, call on properties, and then immediately, if this was a listed property, I could go to comps and then start looking for investors in that neighborhood and then reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you did this flip. I saw you bought this property over here. Looks like it turned out really well. I've got one very similar to this right around the corner that I'm negotiating. Are you still looking to buy in this neighborhood? Right? I don't need to have the property under contract, right? It can still be something that you're still just negotiating. Now, guys, don't waste people's time, right? And be honest and be ethical, right? That's first and foremost. But you can reach out to a buyer before you have a deal in your hands. Right? You can reach out to a buyer and create that relationship. And then you get to work with them and learn a little bit more. Hey, what is it you're looking for? What price do you really need to beat things out? What does stuff cost you? Hey, this one's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. Are you okay with buying something like that? or, oh, it's only, 950 square feet. Is that a problem? Right? And before you even make your offer, you're able to find out, do I have the right buyer lined up before I 100% commit to making an offer, making a deal happen? Right? So Privy is a tool that we love to use. I love this tool so much. I can't stop talking about it. Right? But because that's what this tool does for me. It allows me to find deals without spending any money, right? Without spending any money on marketing. But it also allows me to find the buyer, right? For either my deal or someone else's deal. And I can do both in one place without having to spend any additional money. I don't know anything else that does that. So guys, I hope you're able to find this useful. I hope it was able to help you guys out. Being able to find those buyers and create those buyer relationships will change everything in your business. I cannot stress that enough. And guys, and without having to go broke, right? When you're talking to agents and you're making offers, you can find buyers at the same exact time, right? You can kill two birds with one stone. And you're not just cold calling that buyer completely out of the blue, right? It's not that awkward, hey, are you a buyer? Are you still looking to buy? What's your buy criteria? No, right? When you're able to call, even if you don't have it under contract, if you're able to call, right? If you're using something like Privy and you call a real estate agent on a listing, and then you look for buyers in that area and you call that buyer, even if you're just able to say, hey, I'm calling because I saw you did a flip over here and I'm actually negotiating one right around the corner, guys, that demonstrates significantly more value to that buyer. And one, demonstrates that you're somebody that's taking action and like, oh, shoot, okay, like this person's making stuff happen. Like they're actually going to bring a deal to the table. And two, you're not wasting anyone's time. Like you're able to have a specific conversation about a specific property, right? Versus just, oh, hey, do you still buy in the state of Florida? Right? Are you still looking for deals? Not a very productive conversation. But when we're able to be targeted and more specific, you're able to have a significantly more effective conversation with that buyer and create a better relationship with them. Guys, that is all I have for you today. Deal Finding Friday. I hope that helps all you guys find a buyer today or this weekend. Guys, you could find a deal. This deal that we did literally came across our desk last night. This morning was the first time I spent any time finding a buyer for it. And now we've got kind of money coming our way because of it. Guys, you can do the same thing. And again, if you'd like to learn, I didn't even have the banner up this whole time. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about how we do things, we do a free masterclass. It's totally free. It's not partially free. It's totally free. If you go to painlessflipping.com, you can sign up. It's a live masterclass. It's not a recording. And we go from A to Z and showing you guys everything that we do in our business. How do we do deals? What works right now, right? What are some of the issues with, if you guys are having any struggles with like, hey, I'm calling, but my offer is always so far off, or man, I just can't seem to find any good deals. Guys, well, we go really, really in depth in explaining why that's the case. And I almost guarantee you it's probably not your fault. Got to come to the masterclass to find out what it is. But until next time, guys, appreciate you all. Take care. Have a great weekend. Be safe. See you guys next week.